Good morning, everyone from Singapore, and welcome to today's session on driving digital solutions in manufacturing, which is held in conjunction with the DTech Summit 2020. My name is Wei Min from SGInnovate. We are a government-backed deep tech investor and company builder whose mission is to help entrepreneurial scientists build deep tech startups that are looking to solve big global problems. Our work also involves building a global community of leaders, thinkers, and doers to drive and scale up deep tech innovations in areas such as AI, healthcare, quantum tech, and autonomous technology across various industries. We are glad to be partnered with Singtel FutureNow Innovation Centre and the Advanced Remanufacturing and Technology Centre, or ARTC for short, to bring to you this webinar today. To keep on with times, the Industry 4.0 has drove many businesses to move on to adopting digital solutions as a means of staying competitive within the manufacturing industry. This is now especially relevant to Singapore when Deputy Prime Minister Heng Keat has emphasized that Singapore can be a more digital, more resilient, advanced manufacturing base for the world. Our speakers today shall address how we can overcome some of the challenges businesses face in the journey of driving digital solutions, and also what we can further look forward to in the future for Industry 4.0 and advanced manufacturing. We encourage for all attendees to share with us your thoughts on the topic or interact with our speakers by posting your questions in the Q&A tab located at the bottom panel of your screen. Otherwise, feel free to just say hi and do a very quick shout out from where you are in the chat box below. The sequence of events today is that we will have Ms. Connie Ang, Director of Strategy and Planning from Singtel, and Carlos Toros, Senior Digital Architect from ARTC Smart Manufacturing Division, for a presentation on manufacturing and Industry 4.0, before going on to a panel discussion, which will be moderated by Suchitra Narayan, Director of Venture Building from SGInnovate. With no further ado, do allow me to pass the time to Connie to kick off the presentation. Connie, please.
Thank you so much, Wei Ming. So hi everyone, I'm Connie. So in addition to helming the Director of Strategy and Planning role in Group Enterprise in Singtel, I'm also the Center Director, running the FutureNow Innovation Centre. So I think before I kickstart my presentation, I'd just like to share a little bit about our Innovation Centre. This is a very state-of-the-art technology center. It is a very key customer landing point where we engage our key customers and partners, help them to discover how various exciting digital technologies can help them to reimagine their business model or their operating model. So we've hosted more than 1,000 people, mostly C-suite, senior management of corporate organizations, as well as government officials, from various public sector agencies. All right, so this morning I'm supposed to talk about, driving digital solutions for Industry 4.0, especially for smart manufacturing as well as supply chain innovation. So without further ado, I'm going to get started. I have with me my center manager, Noel, who will be supporting me, for this presentation. So I'm going to get Noel to just play a video on the key shifts that are brought about by Industry 4.0. Noel? So I hope you enjoyed the video. Many exciting key shifts that will be brought on by Industry 4.0. So Industry 4.0 is really about this hyper connectivity of data, networks, and technologies, bringing about extremely smart, technologies, platforms, and systems. So think about, how that's going to impact your smart manufacturing, your digital factories of the future, supply chain innovation, where you have super advanced, warehousing, technologies, as well as smart logistics. And with the use of robotics, advanced automation, that is going to change the way we do our work as well. It's going to change the way we think about future of work, hence Work 4.0. And it's going to impact the way we deliver, services to our customer as well, increasing, enhancing customer centricity, hence Service 4.0. So moving along, what are the key driving forces behind Industry 4.0? This slide shows some of the key technology enablers. I'm not going to run through all of them, but if I may just pull out the gist of this slide, there are 5 things that I would like to highlight here. One is really on connectivity, connected, everything being connected, right, for smart manufacturing. Second point is really about data, and we're talking about big data here. The third point is about smart and autonomous everything. So smart and autonomous equipment, your vehicles, and all powered up by artificial intelligence. The fourth thing is really about, ultra fast computing. So we're talking about ultra fast, cloud computing, edge computing, as well as even connective computing powered up by AI. And the fifth thing is really about automation. Everything, being automated, use of advanced robotics and all. But the key point that I want to highlight, at this slide is really this. All these exciting technologies will need to take place in an environment where cybersecurity plays a key role. So dynamic security comes in here, and it's really important because you have your interconnected systems, and it's very important that dynamic security, doesn't allow any of these interconnected systems to be compromised in any way. And with a next generation networks and communications technology like 5G, that is going to bring all these technologies to a whole new level altogether. So 5G with its ultra high bandwidth, ultra low latency, greater throughput, that is going to enable massive connectivity. And we believe, that 5G will power the future of enterprises. So what are the key benefits of Industry 4.0? The next slide. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this, so I'm just going to gloss over it. But first of all, greater agility to react to market changes, all kinds of changes, in fact, improve productivity, faster innovation and design processes, lower capex, lower opex as well. With robotics and automation and all, you can basically reduce your manpower to bring about that sustainable growth, for industries. And a very key game changer of Industry 4.0, the next slide, is really about this network of interconnected, intelligent cyber-physical systems. So we are talking about that combination, of cyber and physical, right? And that lends itself, very well to the creation of a digital twin of a smart factory. So what exactly is that? It basically gives the factory manager that, real-time virtualization capabilities to monitor and to track and control everything that is going on, on the factory floor from a remote operation center. It gives him the capability to basically go under the hood of every single machine to check on its status. And it also provides him that real-time data analysis for him to do things like predictive maintenance, condition-based maintenance. He can use the data, run various data-driven simulations for troubleshooting, as well. So at this point in time, I'm going to show you a very interesting demo that we have at the center. I'm going to get Noel to play the video, but let me just quickly introduce the demo. It consists of this user-centric interface for data visualization, consisting of 3 key work units. So your robot status, your task planning, as well as your path planning. And this platform is integrated, with the inventory management system. There are 3 robot modules that you will see in the demo: your AGV, your autonomous guided vehicle, your robotic arm, as well as a fully automated manufacturing line. So without further ado, I'll get Noel to share the video with you.
What we have here is a digital twin of a small-scale smart factory. This is done in collaboration with NCS and ARTC as part of our Corporate Labs initiative. The platform consists of 3 different modules. The first module being, what kinds of robots do I have within my platform itself that I have control over? The second one being, what kind of tasks do I need to divvy out to these robots so they can do their jobs? And the last one being path planning. What kind of paths should these robots take in order to fulfill the tasks that they are tasked with? All the robots are hooked up to the inventory management system so that it can fulfill the orders that are divvied out to them. Now let's take a look at how our smart factory operates autonomously without any human intervention from end to end. Right here behind me, I have a digital twin of FutureNow Innovation Centre. We are controlling 3 different robot modules. The first one being the yellow autonomous guided vehicle that you see on the screen, and the second and third one being the 2 cobots that you see next to me right here. What's going to happen is that the restock station will start to ping the platform to say that stock is low. My AGV will go to the warehouse, pick out the right pallets, and using its LiDAR sensor, navigate its way to the cobots that I have on the factory floor. Once it has reached the cobot will start to use its computer vision as well as object recognition technology to pick out the right pallets from the AGV and place it onto the corresponding factory line. These 2 cobots that I have will then need to collaborate with each other in order to complete the task. The small robot has the task of color sorting all these wooden blocks. It identifies the red and blue ones as good products and the green ones as defective products that has not passed quality checks. As it starts to scan all the different blocks onto its sensor and place it on the corresponding line, the digital twin behind me shows the productivity and yield levels of the factory floor itself. So the factory operator essentially can see everything in real time. And that is why 5G is so important to a smart factory of the future, because low latency connectivity is essential for these robots to collaborate and communicate with each other seamlessly in order to carry out a task. All of these can also be reflected on a digital twin, where the factory operator can see exactly what's happening on his factory floor in real time. And finally, one of the key enablers of smart factory is also cloud robotics, because I can now have the intelligence of all these robots on the cloud itself without needing to invest in sophisticated robotics on my factory floor. So costs come down significantly for me as a factory operator as well. And that really is the power of 5G for smart factories of the future.
So I hope you enjoyed the demo. I think the other thing that I would like to add is this: 5G, because of its pervasiveness, actually lends greater flexibility and autonomy to your factory infrastructure or to your factory floor layout. Because now where you place your machines and your robots, you are no longer constrained by the Wi-Fi access points of your factory, right? So that is really the power of 5G, for your smart factory of the future. So manufacturing aside, I'm going to quickly move on right now to supply chain innovation, because there's so much room as well, for supply chain applications, to be enhanced by 5G. So currently, many of the advanced warehousing and logistics companies, are already deploying robotics and using robotics and automation to a certain extent. But with 5G coming on board, that is going to better enable the performance of your automated robots with greater speed, higher precision. Think about your autonomous fleets and drones, where you get the real-time video analytics of inventory, how 5G can better enable drone operations for even last mile delivery. Right? So if you think about it, if your warehouse leverages Wi-Fi, that will not be sufficient to ensure that seamless operations happening outside of your warehouse, right? Because, external space may not have that Wi-Fi access points. So this is where 5G comes in with its pervasiveness, to ensure that seamless operations from warehouse to warehouse, or in the smart manufacturing context, from factory to factory, all right, connecting, your factory to your warehouse as well to your logistics. And 5G, because of its ultra high bandwidth and super low latency, will enable that transmission of large volume and large velocity of data. And that is going to be crucial for real-time data analytics, which logistics company can use to do things like forecasting, integrated planning, your route optimization, and even relay logistics. And that is the reason why many logistics and warehousing companies are actually moving towards an aggregator model. Because with all this real-time information and feedback that they're getting, they can basically switch to a pay-per-use warehouse space and service kind of a business model, or even on-demand tracking and delivery. Right? So Industry 4.0 enabled by 5G will bring about a next generation supply chain, which is fully digital, and it has that end-to-end full data as well as business transparency, right? Where all your processes now become super agile and flexible, right? There is a single source of information. You get your real-time data feedback, which you can use to do things like your capacity analysis, dynamic pricing, predictive shipping, as well as real-time route optimization. And because of that real-time feedback, you can better respond to the needs of your customer, hence enhancing customer centricity, where you can basically do anything and everything as a service. So I think with that, I've come to the end of my presentation. I'm going to hand the time over right now to Dr. Carlos from ARTC. So Carlos, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. Let me try to start sharing my screen. While I share the screen, let me introduce myself, right? So my name is Carlos, and I am the Senior Digital Architect of ARTC and the Smart Manufacturing Division in ARTC. I hope you see my screen. And basically, my work in ARTC is to take all these Industry 4.0 technologies that we know that were described earlier on by the previous speaker, and to try to bring these technologies into a control environment that can help companies to adopt the technologies easier, right? Because sometimes you don't have all these facilities and your factory cannot stop, right? So in ARTC, we have a full factory that can host these different technologies and show you and help your company to adopt those technologies, right? So basically, and let me start by talking a little bit about the Advanced Manufacturing Technology Center, or ARTC. We are part of A-STAR, right? So we are the leading public-private partnership research center in Asia. And we have a very, very vivid and very interesting industry membership consortium, which is in this lower right part of the screen. And basically, we go and tackle different industrial and research perspectives from the transport engineering, the consumer and modern services, including FMCG, and the energy infrastructure, right? So in our, let's say, PPP approach, we have anchor members, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. As you can see, we have a lot of well-known names in industry, mostly manufacturing, of course. And what we do is we have technology providers and technology consumers, right? And the idea is that through this consumer and providing technology of Industry 4.0, we can actually bring these technologies back into life, right? And we also have SMEs that are working on tier 3, basically. And these SMEs are actually supported by their technologies, or they are supporting the technologies, and they can actually reach the big names that we look at there. But never mind, the idea of ARTC is to serve as let's say, an industry merging point for Industry 4.0. We have different programs. Let me just talk a little bit about those. So the most interesting one in terms of Industry 4.0, of course, is the Motor Factory at the ARTC, right? So the Motor Factory was launched in 2018. And the idea was to serve as a platform for test bedding Industry 4.0 technologies by industry, right? These are a few of the companies that are involved in the Motor Factory. And the idea of the Motor Factory from 2017 that we started the project until 2019, 2020, right, is to bring these technologies and to showcase these technologies through the approach of test bedding, right? So in these test beds, we had different technology appropriations, and we have done quite a few events, right? The Motor Factory can be visited right now because of COVID-19 is kind of restricted, but we have received thousands of visitors. And we have done two-day factory workshops. We have done the launch, of course, of Motor Factory with technologies deployed in IoT, connectivity, so on and so forth. And right now, we are working with our friends from Singtel to deploy, and we already have deployed 5G technologies for manufacturing, right? So we have a 5G enabled factory in ARTC, and the idea is to incubate and grow the ecosystem, and to through partnership with these industry partnerships, and not only Singtel, but some other players, and to support the research perspective and build solutions for manufacturing and showcase those solutions, right? Because, yeah, what to do with them and how to implement them, right? We have done quite interesting things with SMEs like abrasive engineering, right? Where we developed the knowledge base to a pinning machine with them. We have done, of course, with Singtel and NCS, I mentioned earlier on. So let me just play a video of our model factory, and I will be talking a little bit about what this video is, right? So, of course, Industry 4.0, as mentioned earlier on, comprises a lot of technologies, not only connectivity, machine learning, and so on and so forth, digital twin, of course. But some people will say that these technologies will come to life into 20 years time from now, right? They will be probably adopted. We believe it's going to be earlier than that, right? Why 20 years, right? Maybe those technologies can be adopted, right? And maybe those technologies can be just put into action, right? So this is ARTC factory, or it's not only the model factory, but these are the ARTC facilities. As you can see, it's a full factory with machines that you will find in a real factory. And in order to test for the model factory, we did a very simple exercise with the gearbox assembly. This is the gearbox assembly line, right? So we have human-robot collaboration in this sense, using cobots, right? Particularly to showcase the interaction amongst cobots and human beings. This is our MICR, the Manufacturing Intelligence Control Room. All the data comes into this room, which is, let's say, a decision-making room, right? And the whole idea of this, as the test that we prepare for this, is that a user will go in online and request a gearbox, right? And then this request comes into the MICR, right? As you can see, the MICR will have a recognition system. As you can see, all these technologies are coming into action. This, the MICR recognizes this person as basically the person that is submitting the orders to the full factory, is all completely, let's say, interactive, right? In a way that also security is part of the model factory, right? So we take a lot of interest in being security. Then it goes into the schedule and planning software. It's just as a normal factory, you will see. And then it goes into the manufacturing execution system to the shop floor, right? The order is received, and when the order is received, then the manufacturing of the gearbox starts, right? As you can see, all the assets and the people that is involved can be tracked. We have developed edge analytic solutions to be able to understand the toolware and how this toolware will affect the actual pieces that we are building. And as I mentioned earlier on, all the information goes into our manufacturing, our MICR, right? We have implemented smart weighting systems for warehousing, right? So as soon as you take some of the parts to manufacture or to assemble, right? The system knows which ones are there, where are they, and what is their need if you need more, right? For digital twin, interestingly enough, what we did was actually to do a sequencing of the digital twin, and smart notifications happen. If something happens, the heartbeat of the plant will show you. Will say, okay, now something is going on. You have to take care of it, right? You have to address it, right? And then by hitting this, the location tracking system of the users will be able to show this with the people is, send the closer person to the problem where the problem is to fix it, right? In this case, it's kind of a problem with an AGV that stopped, right? So it will give you also information about how this potential problem may affect in the long run, right? If you keep on this problem, happening on this problem after half an hour, then you're going to start having disruptions, right? So in a way, as you can see, all these technologies, and we're talking about connectivity because everything is highly connected. Everything is bidirectionally connected to the MICR, and cobots, artificial intelligence, machine learning, all these things are into the same shop floor, right? And you will be able to see how this will impact your manufacturing operation, and you will be able to understand what this can be done, right? Because that's the difference, right? Some factories, they cannot just take this and implement it, right? It's just a way of seeing what will be good for you, right? So I like to talk briefly about some other things that we are doing that are very much related to Industry 4.0. So we have a pretty big FMCG approach towards, and then we have hyper-personalization projects going on. A hyper-personalization project, the idea is to tap on what we have learned in the motor factory and to bring the next generation hyper-personalization line, right? Products will be developed for your taste, for your particular requirements, right? I want this with this much sugar, and I want this with the photo of my child, right? That is the future of FMCG, right? The hyper-personalization. So we are working towards that. We started in 2018, tapping on what we were learning on the motor factory, right? We started with Nestle, P&G, and then Rockwell, Sealed Air, and some others joined. In 2018, also Coca-Cola started, and we actually started helping them in trends towards digitalization and so on and so forth. Right now, the project is ongoing. We hope that we will have the FMCG lines ready in ARTC by the end of this year or beginning of next year. So it will be possible to visit and see how this impacts, right, the FMCG sector. Moreover, in the aerospace sector, of course, in ARTC, we have a lot of interaction with the aerospace industry, right? And one of the biggest things we have done is a 60 million aerospace Young Lab project with Rolls-Royce and Sazal, right? And the idea is how to do this from problem statement to technology appropriation that will support Sazal and also Rolls-Royce to bring those technologies into action, right? So I'm very proud to say that from Singapore, we are actually impacting a global company like Rolls-Royce and a local company like Sazal that works very, very closely to Rolls-Royce, right? And with this big project, the idea is to support the digitalization of Rolls-Royce and Sazal, right? At every different level, right? And with this, I will end, which is basically, okay, what is up for me, right? As a company, right? What are the implications of having this Industry 4.0 potential applications? And I say, basically, IoT is the key, right? IoT is where IT and OT will merge, right? So it's something that is being said, but actually we have seen it, right? The increased efficiency in productivity is there, right? Whatever you do here, you will step up your productivity quite highly, right? The second one probably is the machine downtime reduction, which is something that is pretty important, right? And you have a running manufacturing facility for 24/7, right? To reduce the maintenance, to diminish the total maintenance, and to increase the equipment uptime, right? To be very much using what you have. And then last but not least, and it was mentioned earlier on, the improved supply chain demand matching, right? And especially this is very important in the times of COVID, and it will be very important in the times of post-COVID, right? The idea of how this supply chain can be impacted through IoT and through the Industry 4.0 implementation. So I think I just gave a lot of information, right? But I think during the Q&A questions, we will be able to pinpoint a few questions and pain points, and I'll be happy to also answer those. So thank you very much, and that's all from my side on the text today. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos, for that discussion, and Connie as well. Really appreciate a very quick, brief introduction in the time given. So for folks and the audience who have joined us, I'm Suchitra Narayan, Suchi for short. Those of you that don't know me, I'm actually a director with SGInnovate's venture building arm. So very excited to be the moderator for today on this session, where we're going to discuss driving digital solutions in manufacturing. I mean, this topic really hits home for us at SGInnovate because we are constantly looking for deep tech opportunities in market that bring together, interdisciplinary approaches to a tech-based solution. And within venture building particularly, I'm working on a project which is seeing tremendous interest this year, where we're bringing together hardware, software, connectivity, analytics, and robotics as well. So the solution really adapts robots and end effectors to have the same sense of touch as human skin with a combination of high-speed sensors and AI. And we are certainly starting to see an increased appetite in corporates to work with startups, particularly in manufacturing and supply chain right now. It's such a relevant topic. We've seen massive waves of acceleration towards digital transformation in 2020. I think partly it was planned and partly accelerated by the pandemic as well. People who were planning for it and thinking about it or on the fence decided to, pray and take the leap. So the manufacturing sector is sort of quick to review automation, digitalization, has implemented some quick changes that's going to enable them to meet the customer needs during this pandemic. So we are seeing sort of connectivity, flexibility in production lines, AI, ML solutions, 3D printing, and all of this coming together. And this has highlighted the potential for adaptability and implementation of really quick digital solutions for quick outcomes, right? And the physical and digital world are also starting to interact in ways that haven't been imagined before. And Connie, you had alluded to the digital twin, which is very much a reality today as well. So there's no doubt that digital solution and automation are here to stay, and not just to stay, but to position Singapore as a responsive and a resilient advanced manufacturing base, and to put Singapore on the global map for advanced manufacturing as well. So I'm very privileged to be joined by an esteemed and wonderful panel today for this discussion. I will request them to introduce themselves, but let me tell you who's on our panel. We have Connie Heng, the Director of Strategy and Planning with Singtel. We have Carlos, who you heard from just now, is a Senior Digital Architect of the Smart Manufacturing Division at ARTC A-Star. Surbhi Singh, CEO and co-founder of Firevisor. Dr. Shalin E, who's the head of Asia Pacific Digital Labs with Evonik. And last but not least, Roland Keller, the regional president and CEO of Bosch Rexroth, ASEAN and Oceania. So welcome everyone, and thank you for taking the time to be with us this morning as a panelist. May I request you in that order, starting with maybe Surbhi, Shalin, and Roland, since Connie and Carlos have introduced themselves, to give us a quick introduction about yourself, and also give us your brief opening remarks on the opportunities that can be created for companies that adopt digital solutions in manufacturing and Industry 4.0. So let's start with Surbhi.
Thank you so much, Suji, and thanks Carlos and Connie for the wonderful presentations. So yeah, like Suji mentioned, I am Surbhi. I am the CEO of Firevisor Systems. We are an AI for manufacturing company, which means that we offer a set of products, all powered by AI, all focusing on manufacturing quality improvement. So yeah, to sort of talk a little bit more about the opportunities that can be created for companies who are looking to drive more digital solutions. There are, of course, a whole bunch, all sort of catering to different operations inside manufacturing. So manufacturing itself, has different parts. It could be, on the factory floor, catering to machines. It could be in the supply chain. It could be focusing on quality or a whole bunch of different things inside factory floor. So I'll personally focus more on the quality aspect of it. So in the past few years, we've seen a huge opportunity created, of course, because as companies start to employ more of the digital solutions, a lot of which we'll be talking about later, we do see a huge shift, in terms of what they can do as well. Because previously, there's only so much you can sort of implement without access to technology who can crunch a lot of data for you. So yeah, that's one of the biggest opportunities. You can actually crunch a lot more data today and sort of make sense out of it. Before you, plan to increase capacity and so forth. So that's one big opportunity which I personally see. And yeah, I'll let others, talk a little bit more about it. So yeah, that's me. And thank you so much for having me on the panel today.
Great to see you back, Surabhi. Thank you for that. Dr. Shalin.
Hi, so thank you for having me here in this panel. So I'm Shalin, I'm heading the Digital Labs for Asia for Evonik. So Evonik is a specialty chemical company. We produce chemical products and we have quite some investment here in Jurong Island. Yeah. So we are about 35,000 headcount globally, headquartered in Germany. So regarding the topics of digitalization and how it has impacted us, maybe I gave quickly two examples that might be I think a little bit more concrete and interesting for the audience here. So one example is before we even go into manufacturing, and the other one is directly within manufacturing itself. So a specialty chemical company, we do a lot of R&D and innovation. So this is a very core part of our DNA. One of the projects that we are actually looking at is how do we support our scientists in the laboratory to accelerate their new product development. And so for this project, as you can imagine, this is done predominantly in-house because it's dealing with the recipes and the formulation of our company. So the AI framework that was actually developed allows the colleagues, the chemists, the scientists to actually found the best formulation for the required target by our customers. And one of the outcome was that within 4 months, the AI was able to find a formulation that is even better than the best formulation they have within that particular business division. So of course, then our chemist was joking, saying that it's so interesting that the digital guys can do better chemistry than our chemist. But of course, there is it's a bit how they are viewing this now. But this also tells you the impact of such AI and digital framework can how it will impact our work and also competencies and making us more competent as a company. So this is all more in the R&D area. So now if we go into manufacturing. So in manufacturing, there are more solutions outside, and this is where we mostly partner with external companies, external solutions provider to help support our manufacturing plant processes. So in manufacturing, as you can imagine, most of the digital implementation is usually gearing towards how do we achieve, how do we reduce our carbon footprint, and how do we make the plant more sustainable and to produce more products. So this is something that have been explored and already implemented in most of the manufacturing sites within Evonik, and also we are currently exploring how do we do that in the plant sites in Singapore. So these are just two examples of how truly, so actually quite tangible examples, truly digitalization and the topic of AI and automation has impacted us as Evonik. Thank you.
Thank you, Shalin, for that. Very, very interesting. I think it's AI is here to stay, and hopefully, create more jobs and a different kind of future of work. So let me hand this over to Roland for a quick introduction and your comments as well, Roland.
Yeah. Good morning. So my name is Roland Keller. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, all good.
Okay. The regional president and CEO for Bosch Factory in ASEAN, Oceania, and also with this for Singapore. Bosch is a 400,000 people company with many different divisions that drive different aspects. The largest is obviously mobility, but also in building technology and consumer goods, they're very strong. And Bosch is more and more venturing also in this IoT space. There's more than 60,000 people sitting in India and 3,000 people sitting in Vietnam doing nothing but software. And there's also one industrial division that is Bosch Rexroth. We are the industrial arm of Bosch, providing drive solutions to the industry. And we can say we basically transform mobile machinery. We connect them, bringing in IoT, industrializing construction machineries. We also connect the stationary hydraulics. There's a certain drive technology wherever you need large forces. and shape also the realization of the vision of this factory of the future in the factory automation space, where you then have lighter industry, for instance, in the lab industry, where you can automate things, or also in the fast-moving consumer goods industry that Carlos was showing. So in all those, and I'm happy to see all these applications, whether it's a gearbox assembly, whether it is a fast-moving consumer good where we're providing a flexible and integrated packaging line to a cookie maker, or where we're providing drive solutions to Evonik for their production of the recipes that they're putting together that Sherilyn was outlining. You will find our products there. So we see ourselves as a lead provider and lead user of advanced manufacturing, especially also with 4.0 aspects. And I can tell you that Bosch is a master in driving productivity in manufacturing. They have over 200 plants, and whenever they share out products, every year they will drive productivity increase. And they only get this by reducing non-value added tasks and applying these advanced manufacturing technologies. And I mean, there's a funny movie, you can go to YouTube and check it out, Manufacture Like a Bosch, and you get a little bit of a gist of it, what it's all about. Rexroth is turning this year 225 years and has participated in all 4 industrial revolutions, if you look at it. And so for us, change is I always like to say there's nothing as constant as change. You either be changed or you be part of the change. So we chose the later. So we actively participate in this and try to realize this shaping of this factory of the future. And here now comes the important part for me, through also practical adoption of advanced manufacturing. And one activity we can elaborate later on is this Bosch Rexroth Regional Training Center, which I believe is really a strong approach in collaboration to drive real world problems, real world issues, or you might also want to call them opportunities to constantly improve. And certainly if you look at Singapore, it's a place second to none with a framework where you can do these things in an extraordinary way, I believe.
Thank you for that, Roland. You gave me a really good segue as well. Great introduction and great segue to the next question, because you alluded, so I'm going to get you to start with my next question. You alluded to this whole concept of change. And, common barrier to change is sort of the daunting task of looking at the overhaul of systems, processes, staff training, hardware. So how can we overcome that inertia and really continue to encourage businesses through this rites of passage for digital solutions? I'd love to have the other speakers' thoughts as well, but Roland, maybe we can start with you.
I'm happy to start there. When I came to Singapore, I mean, digitalization is not a new topic. It's on for quite a while already. So what I did is I'm 4 years here now in Singapore. I hired a digital transformation officer, okay? And I can tell you, it didn't work as well. I didn't get enough traction. And I can also tell you there's been nothing better than COVID. There's been the best digital transformation officer so far. Right. I really have to say. But when you ask me, what can you do? What are the elements that make a transformation work? First of all, I like to say we're a hydraulic company. If there's no pressure, there's no movement, okay? So you need to somewhere have a pressure. We call it this pressure to drive productivity, to be more efficient, to with this be sustainable, that's obviously then one thing you got to have, that you want to be competitive in the market, and with this also constantly be take away those non-value adding tasks. And then for me, number one is you need to put in a structure that supports that change. Number two is for me, you will only manage this in collaboration. Putting an individual on it, forget it. And the third part for me is then actually that you need passionate people. So if you just task someone that, okay, does it because he has to do it, also forget it. It will not, change will not happen. So I think those are three elements. And then if you pair that with real issues, with real opportunities, I call them opportunities actually, to drive in a pragmatic way this adoption of high tech with high touch, I think then you're getting on the way. That's my take.
Sure, thank you. Are there any other comments from the other panelists on this?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. Right? Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
No worries, Carlos. Please go.
I would.
I think
Sorry, there's a bunch, it seems.
It was very, very interesting what Roland mentioned, right? It made us think, all of us, right? Everybody wants to talk. I like to say only one thing, right? When we started the Model Factory almost 40 years ago, right? We were desperately looking for people with machine learning and artificial intelligence background, right? And of course, there were some people back there, right, back in the day, but they had no industrial approach to it, right? It's like purely algorithmic perspective, right? And that changed over the last 2 or 3 years. Like we have machine learning specialists dedicated to manufacturing, right? And that makes a whole big difference, right? Because when you have a problem to solve, that's something that drives your transformation very, very fast, right? And the other thing is, I agree with Ron with when he said like the COVID-19 situation is, well, I wouldn't say it's like the best thing because it's a pretty bad thing, but at the end of the day, it helped digital transformation immensely, right? Because we were doing things that were like nice to have, right? You know, a roadmap, right? Okay, let's do telepresence. Telepresence is going to be something that will be interesting, right? Probably in a 2 or 3 years time. Right now, you need telepresence because you cannot deploy your personnel to Philippines, right? Because they cannot fly, right? They have to spend 14 days in quarantine, right? So what to do? That made all the technology speed up. And the last year, because of the really urgent needs that manufacturing industry had and the adaptation of this, right? Industry needs to adapt very quickly. That's why, for instance, technologies like 5G are mandatory, right? Because you need a lot of data to be transmitted. And that's the only thing you can do it wirelessly today, right? So that's probably my take, right? It's like, it was a nice to have in many cases. Now it's a must to survive.
Sherlyn, thank you for that, Carlos. Sherlyn, you had some comments to add as well.
Yes, so because you know at the end, Evonik, we are so we are the receiving company. Right? I mean, we are not here to sell you digital solution. We are here to produce the chemical product. So it's a more, I can say, it's a more traditional industry. You touched a very good point. The first point was that how do we overhaul the systems? So it actually took us years. So we started this in 2015 to start with the overhauling. And you really can only do this firstly through partnerships. You need to get the know-how from outside and what could be best for us. So this is, I think, the first thing, to find the right partners in specific to your areas to do the overhauling, to lay the foundation to support digitalization. The second thing I truly resonate with Roland over there is talents. Yes, you need to have the right pool of people to help you execute the overhaul and also the programs and the projects. So let me just an example. The talent that we try to find is they need to have a certain passion or affinity to our industry. So one of our colleagues, we asked, you're a brilliant, for example, a brilliant data scientist that could have worked in any of the top tech companies in the world. Why do you choose to join Evonik? And what he said was, if I join the tech companies, there's nothing much I can do, right? They are already so advanced. They are the one that's selling the solutions. But if I join Evonik, I have a chance to really demonstrate or to overhaul the system to create a real impact to a traditional industry. So this is the kind of talent that we are also looking for, because with such passion and the knowledge of the digital ecosystems and the technologies, I think at least we find that this will create the most impact and momentum for us.
Yeah. Can I also share that?
Here. Thank you.
Yeah, can I also share that Singtel is big into digital transformation, not just internally, but we support our enterprise customers a lot in their digital transformation efforts as well. And when we think about digital transformation, we think about three things. It's not just about the onboarding of technologies, but it's also really, using the opportunity to look at how we can streamline the processes, how we can make our processes even more effective and efficient. And the third thing is a very key element, and that is people. You need to garner support. You need to onboard your people. You need your people to be the change agents, to adopt, the technologies, and to work with the new and streamlined processes. So that, in a nutshell, is our point of view on digital transformation.
Yeah, I'll quickly jump in with a comment here as well. So everyone has already spoken about the different elements to drive that change. So one thing which bothered us and me personally from the very beginning, back when I was on the factory floor to now, is that there's no objective way to sort of be able to measure where exactly do you need to focus for this change to happen. So what we did was we kind of came up with a tool. It's a very, very simple sort of questionnaire which guides you through different aspects of this change management process, and it's called the IR 4.0 readiness tool. So basically, this is something we did in order to make the understanding of what drives this change and where exactly do you need to focus on and what is lacking in terms of like a company's readiness for implementing digital solutions. So that was one, let's say, one way in which we were trying to, objectively give an idea of the readiness for change, right? So, like Roland mentioned and Carlos mentioned, we've talked about the different aspects that these change, that the change needs to be driven. What bothered us from the very beginning was there was no objective way to measure it. So we kind of also tried to give a framework for it. So, if anybody in the audience is interested, they can go to our website, firevisor.com, and take a look at it. It's just one small step to sort of, enable, driving that change and objectively measuring where to start from. Yeah.
No, thank you for that, Surabhi. I think we got very good perspectives from all of you across, because there's, there's talent. We talked about the fact that this transformation has to be, it's a journey. B, it's not a single person's job. It's an entire group. You need to have a passion for change. And I think the harsh reality is for customers who are looking for automation and digitalization is revenues are dropping today. So, but at the same time, they are looking to automate, they are looking to digitalize, and they are building business cases today as we speak. So if folks are looking for that tool, contact Surabhi, and that's a great place to start if you don't know where to get started from.
Suchi, may I come in here?
Please.
Because I got triggered before already in the presentation and now again. First of all, there is the one thing is in Singapore that has been established quite impressive with the TÜV Süd is the SIRI, the Singapore Industry Readiness Index. Yeah? So I think for every company that wants to go about in a structured way to understand where the potentials are, yeah, I think the SIRI will be one opportunity, yeah, but it doesn't give you necessarily the answers how you get there, okay? And this is, I think, where we're coming in. But the other point that really triggered me, I believe, where we all need to take cognizance of, and I've seen it multiple times. The central control room is maybe not what we need today. I think today, what I would really strive for and what I encourage is the empowerment of the staff, actually, to see the issues themselves, to be able to react to it. And when you go on an I 4.0 tour that is also sponsored by Skills Future, where we bring people through the plants of Bosch and Bosch Rexroth, you will see all of a sudden that there's an active cockpit, not a central control room, but this cockpit is basically at the machine, telling the staff, okay, where the bottleneck is, where the issue is. Yeah? And I think this to using technology to empower the people to be more productive is the aim. And I think with this, you will also onboard the people. Yeah? Otherwise, you might scare them away with this control room. Yeah? And I think so really, we need to take cognizance of this human factor. And I believe actually that there is a lot of value in there in empowerment of those people on the floor, working on the machine, making processes, and also in the office more productive. Because I've worked in the US 6 years, 9 years in China, and 2.5 years in South Africa. And then I come to Singapore, and then I go to the office, and then I'm asking, well, what is this pack of envelopes here? And they tell me, oh, those are checks. I said, what? Really? Yeah, checks? Can we get away with it? And say, no. The people want this. Yeah. And then came COVID, and you know what? My people by themselves started now to do e-invoicing. I'm so proud of them. Yeah, but there's a lot of potential, and by empower the people to do the things, I think that's the way to go, to give them tools on hand to realize this, this getting away with non-value adding tasks, because, you know, cashing in a check by no means is value adding.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah,
thank you for that perspective. Yeah, please, Shalin.
Sorry, so yeah, because I'm very passionate about that topic, about the central control room topic, because I really like the point that was mentioned just now, the central control room. So when we were starting initially, there's a lot of talk about how Yvonne needs to have a central control room to navigate our processes and all this, but this is coming from maybe from not understanding our processes. So we are specialty chemical, is more downstream. Our processes are patented, so it's more complex to run the plant. It's not so straightforward where you can, from a central control room, navigate the whole plant. So this is, and I really like what was said, it's not about having just simply a central control room to support all the plants, but to really empower our people. And actually, this is also the direction that we are doing at Evonik, to empower our people, to train them properly to make decisions on the plant by themselves. So yeah, I just wanted to throw this point because I think it's not a one-size-fits-all in terms of digital solution, but really to understand the domain of the industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Shalin.
So I think I reckon Industry 4.0 is not about technology, it's about people, right? It's about how to strengthen people and how to help people to make decisions, right? Of course, we always have data, right? But formerly, the data we had was completely offline. So you have to go somewhere, take a look at some tables. You maybe have some whiteboards in the shop floor, right? But the situation about getting this data and large amount of data that we are able to capture, right? We're talking about microseconds, getting data from microseconds from machines. That's a lot of data, right? And it will help people to make educated decisions, right? Decisions that will help them improve the process, but at the same time will help them do their work less repetitive, right? And that they can focus on innovation, right? So when we started developing the MICR, and we didn't call it Manufacturing Central Room because of that, we wanted to have the intelligence control room. The concept of intelligence control room right now is a sweet spot. It's something that you can visit, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't need to be in a certain place. It is distributed, right? And it goes where the people will need it. In front of the machine, they have one small, it's a semaphore, it's just a green light or a red light. They don't need to understand the data behind, right? The condition monitoring, all the vibrations. They don't need to do it because they are working on a process. They need to do their job, right? But they need something that will quickly tells them, right? If you continue like this, it's gonna be red and you're going to have issues, right? So giving the right information to the right people at the right time with the presentation, the visualization that will help them make the decisions fast enough, right? And that is, I think, the essence, right? Give them enough information for doing their work in a better and educated way, right? And Industry 4.0 is all about people, all about them.
So thanks for those perspectives. I mean, three very different and interesting perspectives. But Shalin, I wanted to touch upon something that that you mentioned when you're talking about, the need to understand the business opportunity and how the company actually operates, the specialization, the specialty chemicals that are manufactured, the downstream processes, and so on. So I'm curious here, when you're looking at innovation, a topic that we haven't touched across is the entire broader ecosystem of the partners, the startup, the researchers, the innovators. How do we actually look at co-creating or building these solutions with these ecosystem partners? Because one is an intrinsic view, but secondly, we need to get external help. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. This is a very good point. So two points from my side that we on partnerships. We actually do partnerships for two reasons. The first reason might be surprising for you. The first reason was actually talent. to fit our talent pipeline, you know, because once you expose yourself to the ecosystem, for us, it need not be in Singapore, it can be anywhere in Asia. But since we are located here and there's really a great pool of talents over here, so we try to make sure that we are well tapped into the ecosystem, academia or startup ecosystem over here, mainly to have a fresh view, as well as to in the long run have a good talent pipeline for our company. So this is maybe a surprising reason, but the other reason which you also talk about, which is maybe more the concrete, the project driven reason, is the first reason why we partner in the ecosystem is so that we are at the forefront of what is happening outside. At the end of the day, we are not here. Evonik is I don't know, in the future things might change because how digitalization is transforming all of us. But Evonik at the current moment will not be an IT company and never would be. So in that case, in this aspect, partnering and being present in the ecosystem is very important to us to know how can we bring these solutions into the company. The second thing is we need the ecosystem partners, whether they are startups or established companies, to also be willing to hear our domain. So most of the time, if they are coming from a very sales methodology, it usually backfire, because then we will think that you're not listening to us. And so this is the first thing, a very key listening skill from the ecosystem partner, to know that it might work for other companies that might be manufacturing, but manufacturing, there are many different types, but it may not mean that it will work for companies that are maybe more specialty manufacturing, or even additive manufacturing, or even petrochemical manufacturing. So you need to know who you are talking to and the nature of their industry and where they are in the value chain. And the other part for a successful ecosystem partnership will be really more coming internally. We need people who have strong know-how of our domain and able to speak the language of digital topics. And I think with these two partnerships, it will create at least in the experience that we have so far, because initially we started out rocky, not knowing these bits and pieces. But right now, I would say we know these dynamics that is needed for success. And so far, and actually right now I would say we have quite good momentum going on also with the startup ecosystem here in Singapore and also in other parts of Asia.
Yeah, so very similar to Evonik, we are a true believer and advocate of partnership as well. So in addition to our, product houses and all, we are also working very closely with various institutions, to basically place ourselves at the forefront of technological innovation. We need to be plugged into the R&D space, right? So Singtel has a partnership ongoing with ARTC, and we're constantly looking at, new innovative solutions in the manufacturing space. All right. We also have a partnership with NUS that, we set up a corporate lab to look into cybersecurity, another corp lab with NTU that looks into AI, IoT, and analytics. And we also work very closely with the startup ecosystem. We have Innovate, which is our corporate venture arm. Innovate is constantly scanning the startup ecosystem, identify promising startup for us to invest in, for us to work together, redefine and redevelop the solutions for their capabilities into our suite of products and services capabilities as well. And also in the name of partnership, we work very closely, with some of the big players as well, Microsoft, IBM, VMware, and all these are all our partners, and we work with them very closely to do joint go-to-market together. So partnership ecosystem is something, that Singtel definitely, believe a lot in, and we're constantly executing that.
And Connie, while I have you on screen, what do you think when you look at the Singtel perspective? How does Singtel actually see this role of 5G advancing connectivity and performance for manufacturing and Industry 4.0?
Right. So this is a topic that I'm super passionate about. We're all playing big into this space right now. And if you look at the inherent capabilities of 5G, right, in terms of speed, it is at least 10 times faster than 4G. Latency comes down a lot. It's less than 3 milliseconds. In terms of connectivity for 5G per kilometer square, we can connect now up to at least 1 million devices. So 5G is going to propel IoT and bring about the massive connectivity of devices. Another key value proposition of 5G, which I think is super relevant, to Industry 4.0, is really the network slicing capability of 5G. Because 5G is inherently a software-defined network with this high bandwidth and spectrum, we're able to actually slice the network, allocate specific slices to specific applications. So this is your end-to-end isolated network, ensuring maximum network performance for your business critical as well as your mission critical applications. The other thing that we're doing is this: we're not just offering the 5G networks. What Singtel is doing is really cool. What we're trying to do is to integrate 5G capabilities with our what we call the multi-access edge compute, commonly known as the MEC. So this is a real-time cloud platform, that is powered up by mobile edge compute, where we aggregate the high speed, ultra low latency of the 5G networks, and then, with edge compute, edge store and compute and storage at the edge. And this enables, developers to basically develop all kinds of AI cutting edge applications, deploy it, seamlessly at the 5G edge. So we're working with various enterprises right now to really co-develop, all these interesting enterprise use cases using our platform.
Thanks for that, Connie. I was just looking at the time, and in the interest of time, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to switch into a rapid fire mode. So I'm going to ask each of our panelists a very quick question, and you're going to get about 2 minutes for the response. But in the meantime, could I request the audience to quickly put down your questions into the Q&A box? So hopefully we have time to get to at least a couple of those, if not all of those. So let me start with Surbhi, because we haven't heard much from Surbhi yet. Surbhi, what are some of the greatest opportunities created when you're working with corporates and international markets in their journey towards adopting digital solutions with you, with FireVisor?
Thanks, Ruchita, for that question.
You have 2 minutes.
I'll actually bring up two. Okay, so yeah, I'll quickly bring up two instances. The first one was where we worked with this company at a very early stage, even before they had their manufacturing capability set up. So because we sort of started at a very early stage with them, even during their product development stage and when they were figuring out their modes of transportation and storage and so forth, we could already offer our solution for them to make very effective decisions, which actually help them save a lot of time and effort in longer term. So, that's one very critical thing that when you start to use these solutions also really matters. Typically, when you have an established line and, when you're already using a lot of legacy solutions, for example, a change is more difficult. So, you should get in all of these kinds of softwares and solutions at the early stage. And if you're looking to expand capacity and so forth, start to think of of integrating this with your line at a very early stage. That really saves you a lot of time and effort. The second opportunity, which I would want to talk about, was this very interesting, thing that what we are slowly now doing is, instead of providing these solutions and constantly updating and upkeeping these solutions ourselves, we are actually creating a tool set for these factories. Like, we talked a little bit about enabling, like Roland mentioned, enabling the teams to do it themselves. We're also doing a lot more of that now. Like, we're slowly moving towards giving them a toolkit instead of doing everything ourselves. We are developing toolkits which lets them do it, themselves, because of course, the factory floor people know their factories best. So these are two very interesting, opportunities that were created during the process of working with these companies. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Surbhi. Since you dropped Roland's name, Roland, I'm going to target this question at you. How does Bosch Rexroth encourage digitalization and innovation across your regional offices, where you've had some successful examples of collaborating with startups and also driving digital solutions in manufacturing?
Yeah, Suchi, thank you for that question. So within Singapore, we have created a collaboration with Skills Future, JTC, the AHK, which is the German Chamber of Commerce here in Singapore, and Singapore Poly. We call this thing the Bosch Rexroth Regional Training Center. And the aim there is to bring over certified Industry 4.0 classes to basically onboard people. The first class will be in June 7th next year until 25th. Yeah, and part of this training is then also proof of concepts, that we not only have a training, but really to also have people work on real-time issues and apply the learning. Yeah. So this Bosch Regional Training Center will be hosted in the JID district, the Jurong Innovation District that is coming up now. And again, the aim is really to run proof of concepts. And so whether it's an SME or an MMC, but that the staff and the company from that comes up with a problem statement, yeah, that they basically then also apply advanced manufacturing technologies too. Yeah, we have, especially with larger MNCs, we have installations where we retrofit with lots of sensors, a cement grader, yeah, on a cement plant, and increase their productivity output, yeah. And I see the issue with data, then data collection, how to deal with the amount of data that is coming, yeah, where you need edge computing, where you need then also intelligence to process the data so that a human can actually deal with it. Because if you throw 100 data at him, he will not know what's happening, yeah. So reducing this to, let's say, a health status, which our Odin does, that is the aim, and to bring people basically with this Bosch Regional Training Center, onboard them, you know, getting them into touch with the product, and having them for themselves understand how to apply it and realize, okay, what value add this can bring. This is really, from my perspective, the main measure which we are driving here. Yeah, there will be in this Bosch Regional Training Center, there will be additional trainings that are relevant to advanced manufacturing technologies, because it's moving. As we speak, things are constantly developing and being added. Yeah, and so that is, from my perspective, the main angle how we're driving here in this region, which I think is a great opportunity, because a lot of the industries are really, they're starting from 2.5 or so, yeah, I would say industry 2.5, and they have the ability and the opportunity to jump, to really jump.
Thank you for that. And let me address the next one at Carlos. Again, we're doing rapid fire round, Carlos. Could you elaborate on the importance of corporate startup collaborations to scale up digital solutions in manufacturing? Because ARTC's role is to accelerate the transfer of innovation from applied research to industrial applications. So can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, of course, Petra. Well, basically, ARTC is focused always on the value of that material, right, in the technology readiness level. So that means we have to deal not only with SMEs and MNCs, but also what research is being producing. So let's just give an example, right? If you have a factory, you may not be able to stop your production to actually bring these technologies into action to see if those technologies will help you or not, or maybe which parts of those technologies, right? So our role is to be able to show you the technologies in a controlled environment that can escalate, right? And this is actually pretty interesting, because other approaches in applied research, and we are an applied research center, right, in the world, they just do technology appropriation and that's it, right? Whereas in ARTC, you can actually really see this in the manufacturing facilities, on the factory, on the shop floor, so on and so forth. So we have technology providers and we have technology users. So SMEs, quite a lot of SMEs are actually providing technology to us. And the idea is that these technologies that can provide, they can actually reach the big companies like our partners like Rolls-Royce and so forth. And that means the technology appropriation happens naturally, right? And I think this is supporting both the digital transformation of the technology provider and the technology user. Yeah. So I think the role is very clear. And whatever we develop is actually because somebody wants that. We are not doing research just because we want to do research on a certain topic. If none of our members would like to see that research implemented, we cannot simply do it, because we are way too focused on industry. And this is something that also is different if you compare to the German model or the Spanish model, where it's more research oriented, right? This one is completely driven by industry. So it is beautiful, because you will see your applications and somebody is actually using them and making money out of it. It's just amazing, right? As a researcher, I guess.
Yeah, nothing like the passion of seeing research come to life. Absolutely. 100% agree with you from SGInnovate's perspective as well. So the last question, let me target that at Shalin to bring us home with this one. If you have one key message for our audience today to take away, so when you think about the industry players, so startups, SMEs, corporates, they can actually better go digital in their manufacturing process. What would your one key message be?
My one key message would be to consider the human factor. Sorry, I quote you, Roland, but really to consider the human factor, know your partner, know their industry, and to understand it is not a one-size-fits-all for all. That will be my one key message.
Wonderful. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Simple, but absolutely to the point. And I do think, you know, we all need to understand that it's a broader picture, that there's talent involved, and talent, to be honest, seems to be the hardest thing for us to solve for in today's tech world. So with that, we're at 11:16. So I'm going to say a very big thank you to all our panelists for being amazing sports, making yourselves available to us this morning. Thank you to Singtel and ARTC as well for creating this wonderful platform and event. And Wei Min, thank you for your support as well. And to the audience, you know, let us know if you have any questions, email us. We'd be happy to direct them to the panelists or have you connected. So if you're shy and you'd like to have a personal conversation with any of them, I'm sure they'd be open to having that discussion. So reach out to SGInnovate or reach out to the panelists directly. Either way, have a wonderful afternoon, rest of day, and stay safe. Thank you, everyone.
So much. Thank you, everyone.